Welcome back everyone to another video. In today's video, if you haven't heard already, the Mittens bot is back on chess.com, and that is not a good thing for these other bots and these players. So today we're going to be facing Mittens off against the Hikaru bot to see who is going to be the winner, who's going to come out on top. And if you can't tell already, I'm a little sick, so I'm going to sound sick throughout this video, so bear with me, but let's get ready for a good game. Alright, to start out, we got move e4 from the Hikaru. He has the white pieces, and Mittens has the black. We get e6, so we're going to be going into a French defense here. As you can see, one of the variations. Bring the knight out, d-pawns, and then we get knight f6. So this is the French defense classical Steinitz variation, I believe it's called. So we have the pawn push here, we slide the knight back, and then the Hikaru bot decides to slide his knight back. So we get the early aggressive move c5. You're basically going to say, you can take this pawn. I'm not worried. I want to open up the c file, potentially. And so we get the move c3 in response. We bring the bishop out, bring the other knight out, and then Mittens decides to castle. So we take the pawn, and as you're going to see here, the Mittens decides not to take it right away because it knows it's going to be an asset, so he doesn't have to worry. He's just going to develop his knight here instead. And we get the bishop to f4, and we get this first really aggressive move. We get the move g5. Mittens is now committing his kingside pawns here, already where he castled, to start a huge attack. And as you're going to see here, he's going to basically push all of these pawns. And so the bishop has to either take and then sacrifice himself for a trade, or he has to slide back, which in the game he does that. So we get this pawn taken now on c5, and we get the knight jumped into the center, and then we get this other aggressive move, f5. So you're going to see here it's en passant, because if you don't, then if you just play a waiting move here, then your bishop just gets trapped and you get obliterated here on the king side with the overextension of the king pawns. So we get en passant, we take, and then we trade here in the middle, and then we take back. So Hikaru bot does the super aggressive h4. He's going to try to open up. It's basically saying, you've castled this side and you're pushing your pawns there, so I'm going to exploit your weaknesses here and try to open you up totally, so I can get an attack here, get the queen in, get a checkmate here. So takes, and then we get the move e5. You'll see later Mittens develops the bishop, and then we're going to try to push this e pawn. We're going to try to get in here. He's going to attack the queen because he's basically saying, I'm not open. Basically now we're threatening the move e4 because if you move the knight, then it's going to be mate here on the f file. So instead, Hikaru plans for that. He plants his knight on plants his queen on d2, and then we get the move e4. So now you can safely move out of the way because this is no longer checkmate. Now we get the bishop out, and then Hikaru bot basically says, you're super open, so I'm going to bring this rook in and basically bully your queen, and I'm going to either kick it out or have to slide it back. And so Mittens decides, I'm going to attack your queen instead. And you can't take here, because if you do, then you take with check, and then you win the rook afterwards instead. So instead, we get queen takes, and then slides the queen back for Mittens. And then we get this knight jumped in the middle, looking for a fork, but of course it's defended. So we take, and then Hikaru bot decides to sacrifice the rook for the bishop and the knight. So now Hikaru bot is down a point of material, and you're going to see here, we're going to castle, get the king out of the way. Sorry, not castle. We're going to get out of check, because we're in check right now, and then the queen is super active here. So Hikaru bot is basically thinking that, I'm super active, I'm going to win all these pawns, so I can sacrifice that rook. So we're going to get long castle here, and then Mittens takes the pawn on f2. So we're going to have to get the rooks here. We're going to try to maybe go here, which is what you're going to see, b8, try to get the rooks in, get the queen in, deliver a checkmate. So Hikaru bot takes the other pawn, which is not good in this position. So we get the rook on b8, basically threatening to come here, give a bunch of checks, and deliver checkmate if you don't deal with it. And Hikaru takes the other pawn here, which is not the best computer move because it gives black a somewhat big advantage here because you have big attacks threatening here, and you're keeping your eye off of this c file here with the queen coming in. So Hikaru takes advantage of that. He gives a check here, and then we slide over. And you can take here. It's not the best move. You can give some checks, but then you're going to let the queen in here instead. And so we get the queen over to f6 instead, and then we get the bishop into basically saying, I'm going to block here. But that is a mistake. That's not a mistake, but you're going to lose the bishop now with the move a6, because you can't take, because if you do, it's going to be mate a few moves, so bringing the queen in. So instead of that, we get the move a4 from Hikaru bot, basically saying, you can have the bishop, I'm going to take, I'm still blocking you, but I don't want to get mated instead. So we get take, and we get the rook on f1, forcing a trade. So we're going into a winning endgame for Mittens. So Mittens has a huge advantage here, +2 advantage. We get a rook for 2 pawns, And that is a big difference because we're about to win all these pawns too, basically. They're all loose. These two are loose. These two are going to fall at some point. So we get takes because it's defended. And then now you're going to see that Hikaru Bot is basically desperate and going to start giving a bunch of checks here in all kinds of ways. We get check, 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 bring the king out, check, and then we get the move b4. So you want to take this eye off of this queen and this rook. We're going to stop the rook from coming in because otherwise you get a big attack here, potentially a mate in the middle of the board. So we get the move b4, and then now Mittens has the advantage here. He's going to start giving checks, push the h-pawn, more checks from the Hikaru Bot, slide back. We're going to check here, check, check, and then we're bring the king over. This queen is protecting this rook, so we don't have to. Mittens doesn't have to worry about it. But then you're going to see here that Mittens is going to slowly break away at this king. You're going to sacrifice the rook. You can't actually take because it's going to be a skewer and I win your queen. So it instead has to move and give up a bunch of checks. Slide the rook over to potentially get the queen in here. We get check, 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 take the pawn, check. We get a bunch of checks here, and now we push our c-pawn. So Mittens now has the advantage. He's going to check, give another check here, check here, check here. And here it's like mate in 13 or 14, but Mittens decides to simplify and go for an easy winning endgame. So we give a check, force a queen trade, and then now we're going to push this h-pawn all the way. We're going to sacrifice the rook for the pawn, make it easy, promote to a king. So easy example, if you ever want to know how to checkmate with a queen and a king, you do knight opposition. So you fall the king in a knight opposition, and then you bring your king, you trap it in a box until it's at the edge of the board, and you can deliver checkmate like Mittens did to the Hikaru Bot. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to do maybe some more Mittens content here soon, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.